And this latest shooting comes during Gun Violence Prevention Month, as two lawmakers continue trying to ban untraceable firearms, so-called ghost guns. The bill would make it illegal to post, share, or download do-it-yourself blueprints and instructions for 3D printers to make a gun or firearm accessory. Crimes using ghost guns are up 1,100% in just the last 4 years. Joining us now are Massachusetts Senator Edward Markey and Congressman Jared Moskowitz, a graduate of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High, where a massacre occurred in Florida in 2018. So, Congressman, we're going to get to the legislation, but first, the trial is now underway for Scott Peterson. He's the Parkland School resource officer who stood by for at least 45 minutes during that attack. This trial could set a major precedent. What do you want the jury to decide?
Well, thank you, Andrew, and thank you for having both the senator and I on to talk about gun violence prevention. Look, I want the jury to render the correct verdict, and in this instance, I believe he needs to spend time behind bars. Those students walk the halls of that school every single day, trusting that their SRO would be there in their time of need. It's not the SRO's fault that a shooter showed up to the school and killed 17 people, but it is the SRO's fault that he didn't follow the shooter in and stayed outside that building. If nothing happens to this SRO, what message does that send to other SROs? That, hey, they don't have to help the students in their time of need. They can sit outside while 17 people are gunned down, and there will be no repercussions. Parents and students depend on their school resource officer to be there in their time of need. So I want to see the SRO who didn't go into the building and didn't go help those students. I want to see a just verdict against him.
Of course, this is similar to what later happened in Uvalde, Texas, with uniformed police, in fact, as well. Senator, let's talk about the bill that you and Congressman Moskowitz are proposing. Most likely to use well, first of all, who is most likely to use a ghost gun? Why focus on this versus traditional assault-style weapons and handguns? Assault-style weapons, of course, are most often used in these horrific shootings.
Well, these 3D guns, they can be digitally manufactured. If the blueprint is available, are ghost guns. And the danger of these 3D guns is that, one, they're untraceable because there's no serial number on them. And with $200, a 3D printer can be purchased to actually makes a gun. They're undetectable. They can make it right through metal detectors, which makes them even more dangerous. And third, it makes them very accessible to people who otherwise could not pass a background check, who are domestic abusers, who have a capacity to actually create in their own home a 3D gun that can go out and kill people catastrophically in our society.
And Congressman, there's been such a big uptick in artificial intelligence since you first introduced this bill in 2021. So how are these AI advancements impacting the availability of these schematics?
Well, I mean, as the senator just said, the ghost guns is a new frontier. And as technology continues to change, we don't even know where this can go. The senator, for a long period of time, and I'm just joining the fight up in here in Congress, we're trying to enhance laws to protect family, to protect kids in schools. But ghost guns undermine every law that's currently on the books. So there are people who can't pass a background check, but they can go print a ghost gun. There are people who have guns taken away from them because a red flag law is used against them because they're a danger to themselves or a danger to others, but they can go print a ghost gun. So that's why ghost guns are so important for us to start regulating.
And Senator, what about the issue of guns in this campaign? The Congressman, you worked in the DeSantis administration in emergency management. What do you both hope is going to happen in this campaign on the issue of guns?
Well, so far we've had more mass casualty events in our country than we've had days in this year. So this issue is only going to grow. We're going to have a movement that builds to turn NRA into not relevant anymore in American politics. It's building. It's led by young people in the same way they're leading on climate change. This issue is getting ready to introduce itself into the 2024 election in a way it has never been seen before.
Yeah, and my colleagues across the aisle are just wrong on this, and they're not talking to parents. When parents wake up every morning and they dress their kid to school and they drop them off or they put them on the bus or they walk them to school, they are in the back of their mind worried that their kid may not come home. Okay, that is something that parents and children should not have to deal with in this country. We are failing parents. 80% of Americans, over 80% of Americans, want guns out of the hands of people who are mentally ill. Yet my colleagues across the aisle think that's a bridge too far. They're out of touch. And so I think we need to make it a seminal issue in this campaign.
Thank you both so very much, Senator Ed Markey and Congressman Jared Moskowitz.